Hello. The Divine Code reading for February 26th, pages 527 and 528. We're in the chapter Precepts related to marriage, fornication, and divorce. Topic number 17. In any Gentile marriage, if the two partners wish to separate, they may divorce at any time that each other desires. So there's many differences between the Jewish laws and the non-Jewish laws in this regard. The first one is that in the Jewish law, only the men may divorce the wife. The wife may not divorce her husband. When the man sends the woman away from his house with the intention that she will not return to him, or when she leaves on her own accord with the intention not to return, they become separated, and she is considered divorced and single, and not married to anyone in the judgment of Torah law. Within the Noahide Code, there is no need for Gentiles to have a divorce document. That's the Rambam, the Laws of Kings 9:8. Nevertheless, it is preferable if there is a formal civil procedure for divorce in the society, such as a legal document or court record. This will be discussed more in topic 19 below. So another area where there's a difference in the law, in the Jewish law, the man must give the woman a divorce document called a get. And that's recognized. Without the get, without the divorce document, the woman is not considered divorced in Jewish law. That is not necessary in the non-Jewish law, but it's preferable that there be some kind of documentation involved, such as a court record or something to that effect. It's preferable that way. To dissolve a state of marriage, this divorce must be resolute. Must be a resolute decision for permanent separation. See Rabbeinu Hananel brought by Rabbeinu Bachai on Genesis 22 that a woman who is forced by fear into divorce is not considered fully divorced. However, it appears that she is also not fully married, and one who cohabits with her after her forced divorce is not liable for capital punishment for adultery. So she's under if the woman is under duress, and it's wartime or something like that, and she feels under duress, and she leaves her husband, but she didn't want to, but she leaves her husband out of duress. And at that point, she's not, because of the duress, it's not necessarily a full divorce. However, for the purpose of, she would no longer be considered an adulterous relation if she was relation if she was with somebody else while she's under that duress state. But if they only have the intention to leave each other for a period of time and then return to each other, perhaps having in mind that they will have relations with others in the interim. So people want to have a break from each other. That's not considered proper. Perhaps they have in mind to have relations with each other in the interim. This is an abhorrent practice, and this leads to behavior under the category of a woman becoming married to two men. And that was discussed earlier in this unit. And that would be considered adulterous. So if they're taking a break from each other and then they have relations with other people. The woman has a relation with another man, but she's intending to go back to her original husband. That would be considered an adulterous relationship because she's not properly divorced. In the reference to a discussion for permanent separation, the meaning is that at the time they separate, they have made this resolute decision. However, if they change their mind afterwards and decide to return to each other in marriage, they are permitted to do so, even if the woman remarried in the interim and her second husband divorced her or died. See Tosafot on Tractate Sanhedrin 56b and Ron on Sanhedrin 57b. That there is no prohibition for Gentiles to remarry his divorcee, even after she was remarried to another man for whom she subsequently divorced. And this is another area where it's different between the Jewish and the non-Jewish law. It's mentioned in the Torah, and it's also if the woman remarries in the interim, she cannot return to her original husband. And that's one of the 613 commandments. But that does not apply for non-Jews. Topic number 18. A slave woman whose master specifies her as a partner for his slave is considered married, as explained above in chapter 3. When is she considered divorced and single again? When her master separates her from the slave, even by force, and uncovers her hair in public. This does not mean that she is merely relieved of her hair briefly or discreetly in public. Rather, her master forced her to walk about in full public view with her hair uncovered, or she could decide to act in this manner on her own. Rambam Laws of Kings, chapter 9. It appears that it is necessary for the special action to be done and to be due to the fact that the slave woman and the slave lived on the master's property the entire time, and there's no way for them to divorce in the regular manner of free people. See Ron on Tractate Sanhedrin 58b. So in the case of a slave, the master can force them to be married, and because he has control over them. And then he can also force them to be divorced, or they can divorce on their own, and the slave woman would have to make it publicly known that she was divorced, and that's the removal of the hair is making it publicly known that she's divorced. And that was because in that society, the woman, the wife, would have her hair covered, as it is today in Jewish custom. In today's society, was also the custom for non-Jews at that time. So whatever it is within the society that would make it clear that the woman is married or divorced or not married, if she's shown publicly that she's not married, that's considered an important element for divorce regarding slaves. Because regarding slaves, the public awareness is a major importance it's a critical importance for either the marriage or for the not being married. In the earlier time, the sages who codified the Torah laws, married woman, even a slave woman, would not uncover her hair in public. So uncovering her hair in public would be a sign that she was single. Rashi on Tractate Sanhedrin 58b. As well, if the slave woman uncovered her hair in public on her own accord, and her master was not forcing her to stay with the slave that he had specified for her, she is considered divorced. This is the implication of the previously cited Rashi. It appears that Rambam would agree as well, in that he writes, when a master chooses the slave woman to separate, to demonstrate the master's authority in the issue. This does not negate a step she does not, she does on her own to divorce from her slave husband. So if she decided to divorce her, if the slave woman decided to divorce her husband and the master allowed it, did not intervene, then she would be considered divorced also. In other times and places, a slave woman who separated from the designated slave must do a public action, an action that is obvious way according to the customs of that place. And publicly inform others of her separation from the slave. After that, she is considered divorced. For example, the master might be careful to prevent his single female and male slaves from being alone together. If he selects a slave woman and a slave man to be together as a married couple, they will be considered divorced when he separates them from each other and prevents them from being alone together. So that would be another manner that a slave could be, depending on what the customs are in the location. And we're going to discuss issues of men and women being together in a couple more chapters. In a society where that's considered the designating of whether or not people are married is that they're allowed to be together. And if they're then separated, that would be the indication of divorce. Whatever it is for that society, that is what would be considered the indication of whether a person is married or divorced. And in the case of a slave, that would also involve the master's intervention. Thank you.